In this video, we're going to take you through all of the new modules that come with this Food Chain Magnate expansion, assuming that you're familiar with the base game. If you aren't, you can check out the link to our how to play for the base game in the description below. Otherwise, let's move on and learn about the Ketchup mechanism coming up.
La la la.
Expansion for Food Chain Magnate, introducing a total of 17 new and interchangeable modules to the game.
17
You can mix
modules?
and match these modules in any combination you wish in order to
Big
add
star
some
down there.
flexibility into your setup for Food Chain Magnate.
It's their most popular
Across
game,
the course
so
of this
they
video,
made an
we will
expansion.
take you through each and every one of the new modules added to the game. Firstly, you'll be pleased to know that the game can now be played with 6 players. There are pieces for the Siap Saji restaurant, which many of you will recognise from Slaughter's earlier game, Indonesia. There is a new 6-player turn order track, and new copies of several base game milestones, so that you now have 6 of each. The game comes with 6 new map tiles, and for the 6-player game
that
you'll
building
need
number
at least
pi?
4 of them to make the map large enough.
Is
Remove
that
the
building
tiles
numbered
showing
pi?
the 2
Yes.
parks,
And
unless
9
you're
to 3
playing with the
quarters.
Lobbyist module. Then shuffle the rest in with your other tiles, and lay them out in a 6x4 rectangle. I'll take you through the features of the new map tiles
Wait,
a
so
little
on
bit
pi
later
are
in the
those
video.
U-turns?
As for the 5-player game,
Or is it
you'll
just
use 3
straight ends?
copies of each of the
You'll have to
one-times
pause to...
employees.
I'm not...
The expansion also comes
Okay,
with
yeah.
large versions of each of the food and drink tokens, with a large one representing 5 small ones. So with that, let's get into some of the expansion modules.
That makes a lot of sense though for when you're making like 7 and 30.
The
Noodle,
4
sushi,
modules I'm going to
kimchi.
talk about in this section introduce new foods to the game, which breaks some of the marketing rules that you're familiar with from the base game. Each of these adds some new kitchen staff employees
just
to the game.
An extra
These
$10.
are the kimchi module,
That's
Yeah,
the
fresh,
sushi
fresh,
module,
that's good.
the noodle module,
Yeah.
and the French fries module. These 4 modules can be used independently or in combination with each other, and at the end of this section we'll talk about how they interact. To set up any
I'm
of these
assuming
4
noodles
modules,
have higher
place
demand
the
then.
corresponding
They
employees
have
on the
to.
table,
It's like
remembering
3
that the
times
kimchi
the sushi.
master, sushi chef, and noodle chef are all
One kimchi
one-times
at end of
employees.
cleanup phase.
Additionally,
That's
replace the kitchen
interesting.
trainees, burger cooks, and pizza cooks from the base game with those from the expansion, as those reflect the new career paths. The first module is Kimchi, and this introduces the Kimchi Master. The Kimchi Master is unlike any of the employees in the base game. Because of this triangle, it can be hired directly without having to be trained from another employee. But she automatically requires a salary and is a one-times employee. The Kimchi Master produces a single kimchi each round. This occurs at the end of the cleanup phase rather than during the working 9 to 5 phase. However, it occurs after you've had to throw out leftover ingredients, and so even if you don't have a freezer, you can automatically store the kimchi produced until the next round. If you wish to keep kimchi
Strange.
beyond the next cleanup phase, then you will need to have the freezer milestone as usual. And kimchi has a very strong odour, so no other foods or drinks may be stored in your freezer other than kimchi. Kimchi is the most sought after food by houses in the game, and in fact it's automatically sought after and does not need to be marketed. A house will always go to a location where it can buy its full demand plus kimchi before it goes to a location where it can buy its full
Oh,
demand without
That's
kimchi.
interesting.
So here, even though green
But
is at a price of
limited
7 and a
kimchi
distance of
people.
0, House 1 will travel all the way to blue with a price of 10 and a distance of 5 to fulfill the full demand plus kimchi. Kimchi has the same base price as everything else, so here, coming from a house with a garden, this player would be selling 5 goods for $100. However, the house will not visit the restaurant with kimchi if it cannot fulfill the rest of the demand. Here, for example, the house requires 2 burgers and the restaurant can sell only 1. And the restaurant must be accessible by road as usual.
Hey, pause it.
If multiple restaurants can...
So, I think why it's that weird timing is that everybody then knows you're going to use you have kimchi that turn
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
when they restructure the next turn. So, I think that's the intended
Yeah.
effect of it.
serve the full demand plus kimchi, then the normal rules apply and price plus distance would determine who gets the sale. The next module is Sushi, which introduces the sushi cook and the sushi chef. These work like the burger and pizza cooks and chefs, such that you can train a kitchen trainee to a sushi cook and a sushi cook to a sushi chef, which is a 1x card. The sushi cook will produce 2 sushi and the sushi chef will produce 5 sushi. Kitchen trainees can still produce only burgers and pizza, they are not skilled enough to produce sushi. Much like kimchi, sushi is never marketed directly to the houses on the board. Instead, houses which have gardens will automatically seek sushi if its entire demand can be met with sushi. Consider again here the blue restaurant which has 2 sushi. House number 1 has demand for a single lemonade, but because it has a garden it will prefer to go to a restaurant which has at least 1 sushi rather than one which has a lemonade. So here house 1 will visit blue, removing the demand and 1 sushi and selling it for the standard price.
Sushi are like
The
wild
house's
cards.
entire demand must be replaced by sushi in order to sell its sushi. So in the case here of house 7, blue could not sell 2 sushi plus 1 burger, it would have to be 3 sushi to jump ahead of green, who has the proper demand. In this case, green would be the one to sell to house 7. And
Sushi
remember that
just seems
sushi is an upmarket dish
very
which is only
powerful.
sold to houses with gardens.
I mean, I guess
House
that's why
10
you
without a
produce
garden
less.
will
They
still
produce
prefer
2
to
and 5,
go to
3 and
the
8.
green restaurant to get
It only
the
gives you
proper
one
dish.
house, really.
The next
Or
module
two.
is
You can't
noodles,
start the
and it
game with-
works in a fairly similar way to the sushi model.
Well, if you
but
have like a
favours
monopoly on
volume
sushi
over
at like
quality.
10 sushi chefs,
Once
then...
again, it introduces the
I think
noodle
1x
cook
means you
and
can
the
only have
noodle
one of
chef,
it. I
and
think.
Well,
you can
cooks,
train
I
the
mean,
noodle
not
cook
chefs.
from the kitchen trainee. A noodle cook produces 6 noodles, and a noodle chef produces 16 noodles. Once again, like the sushi and kimchi, noodles are never marketed directly to the houses. Rather, you can think of them as a backup plan for any house that can't get its preferred demand anywhere else. When evaluating each house, first determine whether there is a restaurant which can meet its demand properly. If there is not, then check to see if there's a restaurant which can meet the entire demand with noodles. Once again, the restaurant cannot mix and match, the entire demand must be met with noodles. If such a restaurant exists and it's accessible to the house, then the sale will be made with noodles instead of the advertised product. As you can see on this board, all of the houses have demand for Coke, and this restaurant can't supply any of it. But Blue has enough noodles to
You could have
supply
an
all of the
insanely
houses,
diverse
making this an
marketing campaign
incredibly
and just
profitable
only make
round of
noodles.
noodles.
Yeah.
Each of these food
With
modules
luxuries
breaks the base
manager.
rules in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Luxuries
if you're
manager.
using them all in the same game,
That's
you'll
powerful.
need to know how they interact with each other. For this specific house here, with
Yeah,
2
you
burgers
can
and a
have
lemonade
disruptive
marketed,
advertising.
this order from top to bottom represents the priority order in which that house will visit these restaurants. It will first look
Yeah,
for a house that
kimchi.
can fulfill the whole demand in sushi plus kimchi. Then it will look for the actual demand plus kimchi, and then noodles plus kimchi. Then it will look for sushi, the actual demand, and finally noodles. For a house without a garden, the restaurants with sushi are not considered by that house. It's only once multiple restaurants can meet the same type of demand that you look at price and distance to determine where that house visits. The final food module is French fries, which introduces the fry chef. Any one of the game's 4 cooks can be trained into a fry chef. There are no tokens to represent the French fries that the fry chef produces. Instead, it's assumed that you automatically sell 1 serve of French fries to each house that eats at one of your restaurants during dinner time. This will
Oh,
be
just
worth
per
a
house,
$10
not per unit.
bonus
Okay.
for each house.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
that-
one time.
This is a
You can have
bonus,
5
not a
fried chefs
sale of
working
goods,
under
and
you.
so this is
You
a
can
Yeah,
have
there's no-
100
price
they're not
which is
fried
limited.
unaffected by gardens, discount or pricing managers.
Well, you're
or
only
so.
technically making
If you
$5
employ
because
multiple
fry chefs cost
then
salary.
you can serve multiple French fries to each
Yeah.
house, giving you an additional $10 bonus.
This is like
per
a
house
luxury
per
person
fry
without
chef.
affecting the price.
But the
Well, luxury
yeah,
applies to
The
every
next
unit.
module is the coffee module,
Oh.
which adds the most new
Coffee.
mechanisms to the game of any of these modules. This adds 3 new employees, the trainee barista, the barista and lead barista, as well as the first coffee sold milestone and the coffee tokens. Each player also gets 3 coffee shop tokens at the start of the game, matching their restaurant. The coffee module is based on the premise that a house, when driving to a restaurant, will stop off at coffee shops along the way to buy coffee, and this allows you to sell coffee while another player is making a restaurant sale. A barista trainee is a basic employee which can be hired and commands no salary. In the working 9 to 5 phase, he will produce 1 coffee. The barista trainee can be trained into a barista who, during the working phase, produces 2 coffee. She requires a salary. She can then be trained into a lead barista who is a 1 times card and produces 5 coffee. Like other food and drinks, coffee must be thrown away at the end of the round, and, unlike other food and drinks, cannot be stored in your freezer, for obvious reasons. You can get your coffee shops onto the board in one of 2 ways. Either by training your baristas, or by getting the first coffee sold milestone. It's represented by this icon down the bottom of the card. When you train to a barista, as a bonus you get to place 1 coffee shop at a road distance of up to 2. And when you train a barista to a lead barista, you place 1 coffee shop anywhere on the board. This milestone also lets you place a one-off coffee shop anywhere on the board. Per the normal placement rules, coffee shops must go onto empty spaces and adjoining roads. A coffee shop is considered to have a door on all 4 sides. Once a coffee shop has been placed, it can count as a starting point for any other distance-limited action in the game. And so even if you don't intend to sell coffee, it can be a good way to move and spread around the board without placing restaurants. If ever you're allowed to place a coffee shop and you've used all 3, then you may move one of your coffee shops instead. Finally, there may never be more than 1 coffee shop of any player on a single tile. So now, let's look at how to determine who sells
two on the
coffee.
same tile.
Firstly, for a house
From
to
one
buy
player.
coffee, that house must be going out to eat at a restaurant. Here, no restaurant can serve House 18's demand, and so House 18 will not buy coffee. For a house that is going out to eat, determine where that house is eating via the normal method, ignoring coffee entirely. Here, House 7 will visit Green because Green can sell sushi, and sushi outranks pizza per the rules described before. Next, determine the route that house takes to get to that restaurant, and it will be the shortest route as measured by distance. In this case, the house will go along this route into the restaurant like so. Find every coffee shop and restaurant along that route
restaurant.
from a player who has
Restaurants also
coffee.
sell coffee.
Each such restaurant and coffee shop will sell 1 coffee to that house. The final destination does not sell coffee. The price for each coffee sold is determined in the same way as any other food or beverage in the game. A base price of $10, which can be modified by pricing managers, gardens,
So you can have only coffees and not make any food or drink.
Yeah.
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 Now let's
and
look at
even
some
if
of the
the
other
restaurant
specific considerations to determine.
Well, you can
what
still
route
sell
a
food and drink from your coffee shops.
Yeah. Thanks for
Wow.
pausing. But it was like, so he went to that green restaurant to buy the food, and even though the green restaurant had coffee, they couldn't sell it because it had to
Yeah.
be on the way, not at the destination.
Yeah.
Which is why I can see the little coffee shops being stop points if you are selling other stuff.
Yeah.
And because you don't have to compete, like they're going to buy your coffee, you can have a luxuries manager, I think. And just focus
That's
on...
true. It sells to
You
all
You could be the
ones
gourmet
on the way.
coffee.
Whenever there is
Yeah.
any doubt on the route,
That
the
was the other
house
thing I was
will
looking
take
at.
the shortest route by distance that goes past the most servers of coffee. So let's look at some examples. Imagine the blue coffee shop were here instead of here. House 7 could get to this restaurant out this door and straight in, or it could go out the back door past this coffee shop and then around and into the restaurant like so. Remember that distance in food chain Magnate is counted by the number of tile borders crossed, and so both of those are distance too. As such, House 7 will go out the back door, buying coffee here, and then go around the house to the restaurant like so. Now let's look at House 5, which will be dining at Santa Maria because it's the only one that can serve 2 Coke. There are several different routes that could be taken of distance too, but the one which passes the most restaurants and coffee shops without doubling back is to come out here, run around past there,
Have
and
a
then
problem
up
with
here,
coffee.
buying from both of those
I was going to say, those places would both have coffee.
before finishing
Yeah.
here. A restaurant with no coffee
You
available.
want 2 sodas,
doesn't
but you're going to grab
count when
3
considering
coffees
the
on the
route.
way.
And so in this case
Yeah.
here, the route which serves the most coffee and has it available.
You can actually make
is
more money
down
for your
past here,
opponents.
buying from both here and here.
Yeah.
The route we showed before around this way yields only 1 coffee in that scenario. Finally, when an entire route or a portion of a route is tied for both distance and number of coffee shops, the house becomes indecisive and buys no coffee on the disputed
Ooh.
portion of the route.
What?
Consider this scenario here.
Interesting.
House 5 can come around past here, past these 2 restaurants, and complete there for a total of 3 coffees, or can come out around this side, again buying from here, buying from these 2 before coming here. Both of these routes go past here. This is an indisputed part of the route where coffee can be bought. But from that point forward to the restaurant, the rest of the route is tied at a distance of 2 and 2 coffees, and therefore none of those will sell coffee. As such, you can see a lot of consideration goes into where the most profitable locations to place your coffee shops, or to
You
place
wanna
coffee shops to
place your
disrupt
coffee
opponents,
shops
should go.
near other coffee shops if you want to make money.
They can't. But you
Next,
can't
we'll
put
look at all the
2 of the
modules
same
which
text.
allow some new features on the map. The expansion comes with these 6 new map types.
It could be another
The
player's.
top 3 don't
Lemonade.
add any new rules. You can simply shuffle them in
Yeah.
with the base game. Lemonade Junction gives you an effective way of getting lemonade. This tile gives you 2 late round locations
Dang.
in the same place, which could be efficient if you market to it effectively. And this tile places House 25 on the board, which can be the only house on the board at the start of the game with a garden. Houses Pi and 9 3/4 are both apartment buildings.
I think
These
there's
are
yeah.
high density living and they work slightly differently to the normal houses. Firstly, whenever products are marketed to an apartment building, 2 demand tokens are placed instead of 1. Secondly, there is no limit to the maximum number of demand tokens which may be placed on an apartment building. However, you
Let's get
must still
big
be able
fat.
to meet the entire demand of an apartment building that is accessible in order to sell to it.
So if it
And
gets
so,
too
if
much,
you
just
plan
might
for it
put
well,
effort
you may
into
be
it.
able to make a huge windfall with a single sale. You could never build a garden on an apartment building, and so you cannot double its price in this way. The last new tile is this one, which shows 2 parks, and this is used only with the Lobbyist module, which we'll go through now. Lobbyists give you unprecedented flexibility over the map, allowing you to place new parks and even build new roads.
Oh, so.
The Lobbyist is an employee card which can be hired directly, but immediately requires a salary to be paid. When you play a Lobbyist into your structure, you may either place 1 new road tile or build 1 new park. This is done between steps 5 and 6 of working 9 to 5, so after new houses and gardens, but before new restaurants. To place a park, choose any one of the 4 park tokens and then place it somewhere on the board at a road distance of up to 2. Parks may never be moved once they've been placed, and so once all 4 of the parks are gone, this action may no longer be taken. Parks have some similarities with gardens, but they are not exactly the same. Much like a garden, a house that is adjacent to a park will pay double the base price for food. However, unlike a garden, this does not increase the house's maximum demand from 3 to 5, and it does not make the house interested in buying sushi. If a house is adjacent to 2 parks, it still pays only double the base price for food, and if a house has both a garden and is adjacent to a park, then it will pay triple the base price for food.
Ooh.
As mentioned
Ooh.
before, apartment
that.
buildings may never have gardens, but they may be placed adjacent to parks, and this will double
Uh-oh.
the base price paid by that
Yeah, I
park.
see.
Apartments are
The
so
Lobbyist's
scary.
other option is to build a new road. And once again, part of this road must be at a road distance of 2 from your restaurant. To take this action, take any one of the 8 road tiles, flip it over to the under construction side, and then adjoin it to the map. Each of these arrows must point either to an existing piece of road or directly to your restaurant entrance, meaning that this would also be a legal
Oh.
placement.
Uh-oh.
Then additionally place an under
Okay, that
construction
changes.
token onto the square of road that is attached to your new construction.
Wait a minute.
These will be there only for a single turn. In the dinner time phase immediately following the placement of this road, the under construction road may not be used, and the road that is underneath these tokens may be used,
Oh,
as an
that's-
additional distance of 1 when counting
Can we
distances.
pause?
As such, even if you're not
Yeah.
interested in the
But-
new road, you can use the Lobbyist to hold.
I just love that it's
Yeah,
called
this-
Lobbyist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could like with all those road pieces, you could just keep on like closing off one person's road. Is because it's always under construction. Like
Well,
every
it's
turn.
plus
you just
one
keep on-
distance. It doesn't completely block it.
Yeah.
But still, that plus one distance can be painful.
Well, yeah.
That plus one
it's-
distance,
if-
like,
If you could
yeah.
just like keep doing it to like the same like the layout of the road, if you could keep on doing that, just always delay them, and so your place is always closer. Like that's just
Yeah,
Well, there's limited
Yeah.
roads, and they're all different sizes.
you could put
Well,
more
there's
no-
roads
that would be
along
fun.
that. You could do a road to slow down the same path every turn by just adding more
Yeah.
roads next to it.
Yeah.
so,
that-
yeah, you could place.
yeah. That's exactly what I was looking at because there's like 8 roads there at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
You could
so-
place like a road from that road that's under construction up north on that 2-length road. Like,
Lobbyist is
twice.
hold up opponents temporarily. During the cleanup phase, you'll then remove any under construction tokens that are on the board and flip new roads over to their usable side. Roads may never
Build
be
roads
moved
within
once
a
they've
day?
been placed on the board, and
Yeah,
once again,
right.
once there are no more road tiles left, this action may no longer be taken. Finally, when using the Lobbyist module, you'll include this new milestone, first
Whoa.
Lobbyist used. The player
That's
who
how
gains
it's
this
saying, yeah.
immediately adds 1 new tile from all of the tiles
the
that
map
weren't
grows.
used to build the city at the start of the game,
Jeez.
becomes a
and joins it
6x5
onto the
to
edge of the
6x5
city.
plus 1.
This can be placed anywhere, provided it
There we
doesn't
go.
interfere with something that's
Ooh,
already
I like
on the
that
edge
one.
of the board, and is placed immediately
Oh, yeah, have
during
your
the
own little
working 9 to 5 phase,
exclusive
meaning
gated
that the
community.
subsequent actions may be taken
Yeah.
on that tile.
Yeah,
Ooh, put a
not only
park.
that,
Last of the
yeah,
modules is
that's
the
what I saw.
rural
It's like
marketing
park.
module.
Hello.
For this, you require the Rural Marketeer, the first Rural Marketeer used
Off-ramp.
milestone,
What?
and then the Rural Market, Rural Billboards, and the Freeway Off-Ramps. At the start of the game, set up the Rural Market off to the side of the main board. This is an outlying town somewhere near the city who might occasionally come into the big
Oh.
city to get some food.
Yeah. What the
To bring the rural market into the game, you must first hire a rural marketeer, which is trained from a marketing trainee. Then, when you play the rural marketeer, you may immediately place 1 giant billboard adjacent to the rural market. The giant billboard is always a form of eternal marketing, regardless of any milestones you may have, and so whatever you choose to market on it will be marketed to the rural market for the rest of the game. As with the eternal marketing milestone, this marketeer is now permanently active on this billboard. There are only 4 giant billboards in the game, and so there's room for a total of 4 things to be marketed to the rural market. The first player or players to use a rural marketeer gain this milestone, letting them place a freeway off-ramp and essentially determine where the rural market is. These players then place a freeway off-ramp token adjacent to a road which leaves the city. Once the milestones have been taken and that round is over, no more off-ramps will be placed, and the location of this market will be set for the rest of the game. From that point forward, the rural market behaves in a very similar way to the apartment buildings. On each round, marketing is doubled, that is, 2 tokens for every 1 token on a billboard, and there is no maximum demand. A player must be able to meet the entire demand to sell to the rural market, and the restaurant must be accessible from a freeway off-ramp. If multiple players can meet the demand, then determine the tie by price and distance to a
Hey, pause it,
freeway
pause it,
off-ramp.
pause it. The infinity
Okay.
means that if somebody else sells, it's last, it's resolved last. So you might
Oh,
nail the last sale with that, and have the only one who's able to give them the food they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Wonder how it
stockpiled like a whole bunch and you just have luxury manager like times 2 or no, times 1 actually. But yeah, for those,
I'm wondering how it works with the other milestones that advertise more. Well, no, there is no milestones that advertise more. That's only on the radio stations. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, could the radio station meet them?
Radio station probably.
Only those
The radio
billboards.
station can't reach them now.
Yeah.
This infinity here represents the order
But
number
it might
for
affect the
rural
apartment
market.
building.
The rural market is always
Yeah.
the last one to be resolved during dinner time.
Uh-oh.
The
I'm
next two
interested in
modules
this.
introduce two new employees, the night shift manager and the mass marketeer. And I'm calling these Expediters because they have a significant effect on the number of actions available in the game. The night shift manager module introduces this employee. Like the Kimchi Master, he can be hired directly, but is a one-times card and immediately requires a salary. Like all management employees, the night shift manager may only report
Picture
up
on
to
their
the CEO. In
I
this
know.
case, the special Stella CEO card that I got her for her birthday a couple of years ago. The night shift manager has no slots and has no direct reports. However, when you have an active night shift manager, all of your non-salaried employees work twice in this round instead of once. So in this
How's that work with
structure here,
marketing?
you'd be able to train 2 people. This would
Yeah.
count as 2 waitresses, both for ties and for gaining money. You could do 2 marketing campaigns, drop your prices twice, and have the kitchen trainee produce 2 food. But the truck driver is salaried, and so he would only work once. The bonus applies only to non-management employees, and the one marketing trainee may conduct 2 campaigns at once. In this case, the card would have 2 busy tokens placed on it. But an important restriction is that the trainer must still train different people unless you already have a milestone or bonus letting you train the same person twice in a day. The mass marketeering module introduces the mass marketer, who can be trained from a marketing trainee. Mass marketeers can be used to flood the markets, not only with your own ads, but with all players' ads. For each mass marketeer that has been played by any player during a round, there will be an additional marketing phase. Consider this layout here, supposing 2 mass marketeers have been played by different players during the round. First,
And about like
resolve the
1 times, you can have
marketing
like
phase.
a million
Here,
of them.
marketing burgers to these 3 houses, then a pizza here, and then lemonade here.
It does quicken the game.
Then conduct
Yeah.
this mass marketeer's marketing phase.
Let's just slow down.
In
No,
this
it might
case,
open
marketing burgers here
If
and
you
here,
don't if you
but
can't meet
not
the
here 'cause
demand.
it's already full, and then a pizza here. Again, these 2 are full, so they won't take another lemonade. Then conduct this mass marketeer's marketing phase, this time putting a burger here and a pizza here. Only then do you remove 1 token from each of the advertising campaigns and remove any that are complete. In this way, you can use mass marketeers to completely flood the market with demand that other players may not have been expecting.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, and you reveal your structure
drop
with it.
That
There are
and a
2
radio
more new
station at the
employee
same time.
modules in this
4 on
expansion,
every
the
building.
Gourmet Food Critic and the Movie Stars.
On an apartment
The
building.
Gourmet Food
Yeah,
Critic
an
is a
apartment.
marketeer who can be trained from a marketing trainee. The Gourmet Food Critic,
Food Critic,
when played, may launch a campaign using a snooty guidebook. This will market the chosen sorts of goods at a maximum
Lovely
duration of 3
I love the humor.
to all houses on the
Yeah.
board with gardens. The marketing campaign is not placed on the board itself, and there's no busy token for it, so you can just keep it with your food critic to indicate that he's busy. Parks do not count as gardens for the purposes of the food critic. The other new employee is the movie stars. When using the movie stars,
Because
use the
no
waitresses
A-list.
from the expansion, as this shows that
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
can be
right.
trained into movie stars. With the
Waitresses
movie
can-
stars, there are 9 of them, 3 Bs, 3 Cs, and 3 Ds, but they are a one-times card. So when you're setting up, if you're playing with 5 or 6 players, you'll use only 3 movie stars, a B, a C, and a D. With 4 players, you'll remove the D, and with 2 or 3 players, you'll remove the C. All of these other movie stars that you'll never use are simply because the game's produced with 3 identical decks of cards in your box. During the game, you may train one of your waitresses into a movie star. The first player to do this would take the B movie star, the next would take the C, and the next would take the D. Movie stars are a one-times card and require a salary, and they no longer gain you cash. However, they give you a couple of new bonuses. Firstly, when it comes to phase 2 of each round, which is choosing position in turn order, movie stars are now the first determining factor in who gets first choice. So in this scenario, having the B movie star outranks having 12 empty slots, and Stella's company would get to choose turn order position first. If multiple players have movie stars, then the B movie star outranks the C movie star, who outranks the D movie star. Only after all of the movie stars are resolved do you then look at who has the most slots in the corporate structure. Secondly, when it comes to breaking ties after two companies are tied for price and distance, whereas normally the company with the most waitresses would break the tie, now the company with the highest rated movie star breaks the tie. Only after all movie stars have been resolved in sequence do you then look at waitresses and finally turn order to determine who makes the sale. The final 4 modules in the game make some changes to some more of the base concepts in the game, the reserves and the milestones. First, there is the reserve prices module, and in this module each player gets these 3 reserve cards instead of these 3 to choose from at the start of the game. As usual, this dictates how the game will change when the bank breaks for the first time. Recall that in the base game, the reserve cards tell you how much money goes in the bank and how many slots each player's CEO will have for the second half of the game. Now, all players will still add $200 into the bank, however the base price may change depending on which reserve cards are played. When the bank breaks, open up all the reserve cards and then see which one has the majority. In this case, it's this.
I think the one thing I don't really like about this game is reserve cards are predetermined at the beginning of the game.
Not at the middle point
Yeah.
when the bank
If
breaks.
you did it when the bank broke, I feel like it would be a little more strategic.
Yeah, where this is like...
Well, yeah, you react to how the market works and you choose what's best suits you. Well, at the start, you don't know
Yeah.
what the best
Yeah.
outcome is. Like, when I chose mine, I probably chose poorly for that last game, but that's just how it worked.
Well,
Yeah, choosing 100 means you think you're expecting to win in the middle, and choosing 300 means that you're expecting to have a slow burn and winning
Yeah.
near the end.
having it chosen in the beginning enables the milestone to peak, but I don't know. It's
Well, yeah, when
Yeah,
you
I
get to actually
guess, but-
see what's coming up, that is the strategy part of reserve banknotes. Seeing like, oh, so that's what's going to happen.
and it goes to the
Mm,
person who
yeah.
made some money quickly. That whoever
Yeah.
made $20 first.
Yeah, so then you get to see like what everyone's planning beside you.
Yeah. Well,
There's a
also,
level strategy, but I'm just not used to it yet.
Yeah. It just feels
I've not
I
hit-
haven't looked at it yet, so I haven't even thought about that
I've
part.
not. Yeah, I've not.
Yeah,
hit
especially with
the-
this base price change now too. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar thing, it's just speed. It's just changing the way the speed is
yeah,
done.
it's a similar thing. It's
You know,
just changing the way the speed
I think
works,
this
yeah.
addresses one problem that expert players were having was a price war slowing down the game,
Mm,
where
Oh, yeah.
you would have. Well, actually, I don't know if this solves it. Anyway, I'm not sure.
like a dollar pricing.
The higher
Well-
base price will end the game sooner for sure.
It will. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is related to that problem, but a price war can drag out the game because the prices get really low.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that's related to this actually.
With a price
Because if prices are already dropping, you might want to play the 21 just to bring them back up.
Well, people choose these at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like, if you pick them later.
With the base price is 5, you have the first to lower prices and a pricing manager, you're selling at $1.
Yeah.
That's unless you're
Well-
selling massive quantities of noodles.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
well,
not going to turn
yeah.
out very well for you.
yeah,
You'll want that if
That's
you-
the other thing. You have all those milestones that will increase the value of it too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the plus $5 bonus. The French fry cook.
Yeah, he just bust in per
Oh.
house.
Also,
if you got a
generally,
French fry.
That's also the slow burn strategy. If you think you're gonna
Well, it's
if
also
your model is to have a lot of marketing set up and to produce for them, I think.
that's assuming you're playing with all modules too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking
Board
all
game site
modules.
support the modules?
Huh?
Does that board game site support the modules?
No,
looked
it only
like
supports
or it's a
the.
couple of these.
It's only...
It only supports
It
a
said that
couple
they're
of them.
testing a couple of them. They're
I-
pretty
Oh,
buggy.
okay.
Yeah. The hard choices one, which we're about to see, and then the new milestones, which I'd like to read through because they look interesting. I think
Yeah.
that's all it supports.
For the rest of the game, each item of food or drink sold will have a base price of $20 instead of $10. This can combo significantly with your garden houses and tell you whether you really want to focus
Oh,
on gardens
yeah.
or if you want to focus on volume. If there is a tie for number of a certain reserve card
Well, I
in the
guess
pot,
the first half of this game is kind of just your Kickstarter, like
Yeah.
just getting your first like things out
Yeah,
there.
The first like 3 or 4 turns, there's not even marketing.
So you only have $200 in the bank versus afterwards you're gonna have 800 or more.
Yeah, and
Possibly.
then depending on the reserve and how aggressive people are selling, that will actually determine the length of the game, not the $200.
Yeah.
Okay.
then $20 takes precedence over $5, which takes precedence over $10. This means you're more likely than not to change the base price halfway through the game. The Hard Choices module adds a time limit onto 5 of the game's milestones. Now, if you want one of those milestones, you have to commit to it early. First burger, pizza, and drink marketed, and first to train someone will all disappear after turn 2, and
I
first to
understand.
hire 3 people in one turn will disappear after turn 3. The
have to
new
rush those
milestones
marketing.
module
Yeah.
introduces a
a
completely
lot of
new
sense.
set of 17 milestones which can be
Gonna
used
pause it.
instead of the 18 that came with the base game. These are not intended to be mixed and matched. You will note that the
wanna pause
expansion
it for
comes
these
with some new
milestones?
Yeah.
Uh,
When the hand's gone.
Those
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
plain
Go back a
tokens
second.
showing an.
The-
You will.
But yeah, that remove
All right,
after
okay.
You can see it
turns
best.
thing.
Brent, can you read them?
So we have if you build the first house, you can use multiple trainers on the same person. Your first waitress becomes your salaries drop to 3 instead of getting $2 per waitress. First recruiting girl would be you get a
first
free
discount
executive vice
manager used?
president.
The third one, first discount manager used.
Oh, I skipped it. You remove $100 from the bank each round. You discount by 3 or more.
Oh yeah, that deals with price wars.
So you can just
Oh, so
get rid of the
a
bank.
A price manager will easily complete the game very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at some of these other ones. Get a free executive vice president, pay no salary, get a free trainer, no
Isn't that
longer
the
need
second
to
to
hire
last?
employees.
Oh, wait, we're all gonna. If we skip around like that, we're not gonna see them all. First recruiting girl used. Get a free executive vice president.
And pay no
second to last
salary.
one, right?
Pay no salary for it.
First trainer is you get a free trainer, and you no longer need to fire employees if you're out of money.
Yeah.
First new
Interesting.
restaurant, you place a permanent mailbox in a restaurant area.
Huh.
First burger sold, your CEO always has 4 slots. First pizza sold is you place a radio for pizza on tile of each house that bought pizza.
Oh my lord. So that could just affect the entire
Yeah.
board
First
That-
car,
if you
Pizza
made a
can,
bunch
yeah.
of pizza at the beginning.
yeah. So
Oh,
first car operator is double the amount of drinks hauled.
By cart, truck, and Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yep.
First
Okay.
Coke sold is you get a freezer. First beer sold is you may pay salary with food and drink.
Is that like a single one pays a salary?
I don't know.
No, probably
You
per
might
employee.
need. Yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, we don't need to pay you. Here's a beer.
Yeah.
No,
First
that's what I mean.
lemonade
Like,
sold.
so instead of if you don't get a
I like
So
this.
first
It
lemonade-
makes your it's like choosing a class with your
Mhm.
which food and drink you get. They're not interchangeable.
So first lemonade is any employee can be trained on the job, preserving color.
So you can't train like an executive into like a pricing manager,
Yeah.
or you could just keep training him up the executive tree.
Mhm.
Interesting.
First marketeer. You get $5 for every good your marketeers market, but you have distance -2.
Distance -2 is good. That's to determine when you're competing for customers.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
That is very good.
Yeah.
First marketing trainee used would be get a free kitchen trainee and errand boy.
So, wait, sorry. First marketeer use. You could just have a.
Wait,
I guess it's to mitigate having your advertising stolen because you'll make money just
Yeah.
by advertising.
wait.
Yeah.
First
Yeah,
marketeer.
well, these are
use,
used in a
You get $5 when you play it. When do you get the
$5 for
$5?
every good your marketeers market. So if your billboard advertises 2 houses, you get $10 every time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and your radio.
Yeah.
Your first
So if
radio.
the
will-
radio
Every-
was the first one.
Oh wait, the radio. Yeah, you're not going to get double advertising with the radios with these milestones, but radios
Yeah.
could get you money, a lot of money.
Yeah. First campaign manager would be place a marketing tile with same type, duration, and range. So you just get an additional one. First brand manager, you may place 2 different goods on one plane. But only for the
Oh,
first
that's
one.
very nice.
And brand
That's
director is
pretty good.
permanent radio.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go. There's your permanent radio.
Note
Yep, that
that
looks
the
fun.
expansion comes with some new plane
Yeah,
tokens.
this is
showing
on Board Game
A
Core, I think.
and
This
B,
is?
Yeah, I
and
think.
these are related to.
I think it's in
this
beta.
milestone
Would replace.
and replace the
These
token
replace
of
the
the
other ones, or
same
you
number.
Yeah.
choose?
The new milestones also
You
come with
it
hard
replaces
choices,
all of the other milestones.
with first
Oh,
marketeer,
wait a minute. He's starting
first
to put down
recruiting girl,
remove.
and first trainer.
Yeah, it also works with hard choices. Is what he's showing here.
Slated to disappear after turn.
Last game.
I'm not going to
my
take you
turn
through
two,
the
we got those,
specifics of
yeah.
each of these milestones. I'll leave you to read them in the rulebook. Finally, we have the game's namesake, the Ketchup mechanism. One new milestone that you can add to the base set or the expansion set. The Ketchup milestone
Sean would have
is
liked
awarded
this.
to a player who has marketed goods that are then sold by someone else. Here, Blue has marketed this pizza, and then Green is going to make the first sale. The blue player will then get the Ketchup mechanism for the rest of the game. From this point forward, during dinner time, deduct 1 from the distance between your restaurant and the
So
house
blue
you're
took
selling
the
to.
second one.
This will make your restaurant a little bit more competitive without costing you on base price. Ketchup even works on houses which only want drinks because everything tastes better with ketchup. And that's how to play the new modules
Okay.
for Food Chain Magnate.
All right, that's that. All right,
Interesting.
we've
Cool.
started something beautiful. So we will meet on the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
All
it.
right.
Don't know if
Nice playing with y'all.
don't know if we all the
Yeah, that's what we
expansions,
guys
but to try a 5-person.
Say
yeah,
that
we tried
again.
5%
You were
next time too. Yeah.
you were breaking up. Say it again. Oh no, I don't.
I'm down for a 5-person.
Oh yeah. Make it a little bigger. And I don't know if that website does 6. Does it?
I think it only does 5.
Oh.
I didn't have any expansions selected, but I think it only does 5.
Okay.
I don't know if it has to.
Yeah. Yep, I would be happy to play. Saturdays are pretty good for me.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, that was fun. Yeah, that's it. So, the other games I wanted to teach are I probably wanted to include. Well, I know I want to show Twilight Imperium to Sean. Has everyone here played Spirit Island?
No.
Spirit Island. No, I'm thinking of a different game.
Okay. All right. That could happen. That might happen soon.
All right.
Okay. What about you, Hans? Have you played it?
I'm trying to remember if I've not played, but I think I've seen it played.
Okay.
think
That's
that's
the
the one
one
I've
where you are
noticed.
spirits of nature working with the natives, trying to prevent European colonizers from taking your island, and you send tidal waves and droughts.
Nature.
Sounds
Yep.
very fun.
Yeah.
Animals.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
More familiar than Twilight Imperium. I don't think I've played that. So.
Okay. All right. So good. I'll let you guys know about that. Sean really
Cool.
likes that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right then.
See you guys.
See you all later.
That was fun.
Yep. Bye.